This video is on greatest common factor. It's how to find the greatest common factor of two or more numbers. We're going to do 2 and 3 numbers. Alright, remember previously how we took and found factors of numbers. I like to list them out like this, say 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4, and then list them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Then 28 has 1 and 28, 2 and 14, 4 and 7. So it's 1, 2, 4, 7, 14, 28. Using a Venn diagram, I can easily see which numbers they have in common. So which factors do they have in common? They both have 1s, so I'm going to put a 1 in the place where they have it in common. They both have 2s. They do not both have 3s. The 12 has a 3. They both have 4s. 12 has a 6. 12 has a 12. 28 has a 7, a 14, and a 28. None of those are in common. Now, when we look in the center, we can see that there are 3 numbers that they have in common. Greatest common factor is saying which one of these is the biggest number that they have in common as factors. So you're listing the factors, you're figuring out which ones do they have that are the same, and you're deciding the biggest one is your answer. Greatest common factor is 4 for this question. Alright, I think it's faster if you just list your factors out. So I'm going to list these. Yes, I can use that table like I did before, but I'm going to use just what I know about these numbers and list them quickly for you. So I'm listing the factors of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 12, 18, and 36. Listing the factors of 27, 1, 3, 9, and 27. So I'm looking to find what ones do they have in common, and I'm just going to circle them. Now, a lot of kids think they're always going to be right on top of each other like that. They're not. So notice the 3s are a little bit off. The 9s are way off, and I don't have a 27 in common. Some people like to go from the back to the front because then they find the biggest one first, which is fine as well. So I see that they have 1, 3, and 9 in common. 9 is going to be my answer for the greatest common factor because 9 is the biggest number that they have in common between the two. I'm going to do the same thing down here with 3 numbers. So now it has to match for all 3. So I have, for 16, I have 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. 24, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. And 40, I have 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 10, 20, and 40. Alright, they all have a 1 in common, they all have a 2 in common, they all have a 4 in common, they all have an 8 in common. 16 is the only bigger one for 16, so I can stop because I know that if it doesn't go beyond this one, it's not going to be a match for all 3. There's a lot of factors in common here, but the greatest common factor, the biggest common factor, is 8. There's another method you can use. It's called prime factorization, where you make a factor tree. So I'm going to make a factor tree for each one of these. 2 and 8. I like to circle my prime numbers so that they're obvious. 2 and 4, 2 and 2. This one's 2 and 12, 2 and 6, 2 and 3. It doesn't matter how you separate yours out, but you'll end up with the same prime numbers. So this one is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, or 2 to the 4th power. This one's 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. And I like to leave it in the long way and not say like 2 to the 3rd power times 3. Just because for this method, I want to see everything that they have in common. So they have 2's in common, 2's in common, 2's in common, and now we ran out. We don't have anything more in common. So I have 2 times 2 times 2 in common. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. My greatest common factor between these two numbers is 8. Here's 3 numbers, same thing. 2 times 9, 3 times 3. So that's 2 times 3 times 3. We can do, let's do a bigger one. 4 times 9, 2 times 2, and 3 times 3. I forgot to circle my primes over here. Okay, so that's 2 times 2 times 3 times 3, and 9 times 9, 3 times 3, and 3 times 3. So I've got 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Alright, if I'm looking, only the top two have 2's in them, so I know that there aren't any 2's that are in common with all of them. But I noticed there's a 3 in common for all of them, there's another 3 in common for all of them, so they all have at least 2 3's, and when I multiply that together I get a greatest common factor of 9. Please pause the video and try these 4 questions. Now I found my answers in different ways. You can find your answer any way that you would like. For the first one, the ones that I found in common were these numbers, so my greatest common factor is 4. For this one, I decided to do the prime factorization method, and I had 2 and 3 in common. I have to multiply these two. 2 times 3 is 6, and that's how I found that answer. Here I did the listing the factors again, and so my greatest common factor is 14. A lot of kids think they can do this in their head, but I would have to say if you tried doing that in your head, you probably would have picked 7. Most people wouldn't have thought to go with 14. And the last one, they all have 2 3's in common, so that's going to be 3 times 3, which is 9. Alright, you have a NICU check to do tonight. Good luck.